Good afternoon, and welcome to the ISO Board of Governors General Session Meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and currently all attendee lines are in a listen-only mode. There will be opportunity for public comment throughout today's call, and we will give you instructions on how to enter the comment queue at that time. With that, I'd now like to formally begin today's call and turn it over to Chair Jan Shorey. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone for joining us for today's meeting. We have some relatively important issues on the agenda for discussion later. So hopefully it will be an interesting meeting, but thank you for being with us. With that, I'll turn it over to Roger Collington, our General Counsel and Corporate Secretary, to do the roll call.
Thank you, Chair Shorey. And we'll start with you. Chair Shorey?
Here.
Vice Chair Borenstein?
Here.
Governor Edo?
Here.
Governor Glitova?
Present.
And Governor Leslie?
Present.
All present, here, and accounted for.
Great.
We have a quorum and we can proceed. Thank you, Chair Shorey. Back to you.
Thank you very much. At this point on our agenda, we always have the opportunity for general public comment for items that are not on the agenda today. So if there's anyone that would like to make a comment to the board, could you please line up? And Silas, I'll turn it over to you to survey our attendees and see if anyone has any items.
If you would like to speak under general public comment, please press the raise hand icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Or if you are dialed into our phone only line, you can press #2 on your telephone keypad to enter the comment queue. We do have one hand up in our comment queue. Hina Singh, you've been sent a prompt to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hina Singh, and I'm the Energy Justice Manager at the California Environmental Justice Alliance. I'm here today on behalf of the Regenerate California campaign with the goal of retiring all gas plants in California by 2035, starting with those in environmental justice communities. So today I want to just use this public comment opportunity to talk a little bit about our goals and how the ISO can support us. So more than half of the 160 gas-fired power plants in California are in environmental justice communities, resulting in poor air quality and serious health impacts for residents. In particular, the San Joaquin Valley, Central Coast, and Los Angeles regions face some of the worst air quality in the country, violating the EPA's national ambient air quality standards. And gas plants in these communities exist to provide local resource adequacy needs due to the grid constraints that have resulted from decades of disinvestment in these communities. So in order to break this cycle of disinvestment and prioritize the health and safety of our communities, we are calling on the ISO to support us in the following ways. One is to prioritize grid investments in environmental justice communities as it relates to retiring gas plants in these communities. Two is to clearly analyze and model how utility scale energy developments like offshore wind, solar, and long duration energy storage can be tied to the retirement of gas plants in these communities. Three is to analyze opportunities to use non-wire alternatives such as solar and co-located storage in locally constrained areas to enable energy resiliency and reliability. And then in particular, consider opportunities to use battery storage to manage load growth and balance power flows, specifically in San Jose and the Silicon Valley power area where many new data centers will be sited. And four is to improve and strengthen community engagement and collaboration through listening sessions, community advisory committees, and accessible public workshops. Thank you for considering these comments. We look forward to working together to plan for a future that prioritizes the health and safety of our communities.
Thank you, Ms. Singh. Those were excellent comments, and we really appreciate your taking the time to come and participate in our meeting today. Elliot, do you have any comments you would like to make?
No, just appreciate the feedback, and we will look forward to working with Regenerate and continuing to collaborate with our partners at the state agencies and stakeholders across California on these critical resource planning issues. So thanks for the input today.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other comments? Silas, anybody else signed up?
We do have two more hands up in the general public comment queue.
Okay.
Julia Dowell, you've been sent a prompt to unmute yourself. You can go ahead.
Hello, thank you so much for the opportunity to comment today. Good afternoon, CAISO Board of Governors. My name is Julia Dowell, and I'm here today also on behalf of the Regenerate California campaign and Sierra Club to discuss our vision of retiring all gas plants in California by 2035 and prioritizing those in environmental justice communities and retiring those plants by 2030. As my colleague just mentioned, with over 160 gas-fired power plants in California, we know that more of half of them are in environmental justice communities, which include disadvantaged communities or DACs. Many of these plants only operate to address local reliability or resource adequacy needs, and these plants are retained due to grid constraints caused by decades of underinvestment in DACs. These grid constraints are also a barrier to the development of local clean energy resources for DACs, and this perpetuates underinvestment and severely impaired air quality due to these polluting sources, outages, and unmitigated harms from extreme weather events. I would like to make some recommendations to CAISO as well. In particular, we encourage CAISO to clearly analyze and model utility scale developments such as offshore wind, solar, and long duration energy storage in order to enable the retirement of gas plants in disadvantaged communities. We really want to see environmental justice communities, particularly in the San Joaquin Valley, Central Coast, and Los Angeles, which suffer from some of the worst air quality in the nation, prioritize for grid investments to retire gas plants and address air quality issues. And we urge CAISO to consider opportunities to use battery storage technology as a transmission asset to manage load growth and balance power flows, particularly in local capacity sub-areas like San Jose and Silicon Valley Power, where we do suspect that new data centers will be sited. And I also just wanted to mention that we encourage CAISO to work with the PUC to plan for significantly lower thermal generation in the Greater Bay Area in future resource plans. And we really encourage this collaboration between the PUC, CAISO, and the CEC, and we're involved in all of those venues. So thank you for your time, and we really look forward to continuing to work with CAISO and the other key state agencies in this work.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Dowell. We appreciate your comments and you're taking the time to come and participate in our meeting today. Do any of the board members or Elliot have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you for those comments. We will go ahead and move on to the third speaker that you mentioned, Silas.
Aurora Ruggiero, you have been sent a prompt to unmute yourself. You can go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Aurora, and thank you for the opportunity to comment. I am here today on behalf of COS as part of the Regenerate California Coalition to discuss our vision of retiring all gas plants by 2035, and in particularly prioritizing environmental justice communities and having that retirement by 2030. With over 160 gas-fired power plants in California, more than half of them are in environmental justice communities, which include disadvantaged communities. Many of the power plants in disadvantaged communities operate only to address local resource adequacy needs. These plants are retained due to grid constraints caused by decades of underinvestment in disadvantaged communities. These grid constraints are also a barrier to the development of local clean energy resources for disadvantaged communities, perpetuating underinvestment, severely impaired air quality due to polluting sources, outages, and unmitigated harms from extreme weather events. As such, we recommend CAISO to prioritize environmental justice communities for grid investments to retire gas plants. We encourage CAISO to clearly analyze and model utility scale developments such as offshore wind, solar, and long duration energy storage to support the retirement of gas plants in disadvantaged communities. We also want to see environmental justice communities, particularly in the San Joaquin Valley, Central Coast, and the Los Angeles regions that suffer from the worst air quality in the country and do not meet the national ambient air quality standards, to be prioritized for great investments to retire gas plants. Lastly, much of the information presented to stakeholders is highly technical and inaccessible. We highly encourage CAISO to work directly with communities via listening sessions, community advisory committees, and accessible public workshops, and consider language accessibility for non-English speaking community members. Thank you for working to create a plan for California to reach its clean energy goals. We encourage the CAISO to plan for the decommissioning of gas plants while prioritizing justice and equity and acknowledging the urgency of the climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bergerio, for those comments, and thank you for coming to participate in our meeting today. Does anyone on the board or Elliot, do you have any questions?
I just reiterate the appreciation for the input, and definitely we'll look forward to following up and next steps in the discussion.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, Silas, is there anyone else who would like to speak under general public comment?
We did have one more hand go up in the queue.
Okay.
Rosalind Tovar, you've been sent a prompt to unmute yourself. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Rosalind Tovar. I am here on behalf of Communities for a Better Environment and as part of the Regenerate California campaign to discuss our vision for retiring all gas plants in California by 2035, while prioritizing those in EJ communities by 2030. With over 160 gas-fired power plants in California, more than half of them are in environmental justice communities, which include disadvantaged communities. Many of these power plants in these communities operate only to address local resource adequacy needs, and these plants are retained due to grid constraints caused by decades of underinvestment in disadvantaged communities. We'd like to make the following recommendations to CAISO. 1, EJ communities must be prioritized for grid investments to retire gas plants, particularly in the San Joaquin Valley, Central Coast, and the LA regions that suffer the worst air quality in the country and do not meet the national ambient air quality standards. We encourage CAISO to model utility-scale offshore wind, solar, and long-duration storage to the retirement of gas plants. 2, non-wire alternatives are necessary to safeguard affordability and deliver community benefits. Consistent with SB 887, we urge CAISO to work with the CPUC and CEC to on distributed solar and battery storage and non-wire alternatives in order to reduce transmission costs and increase local investment in EJ communities. And 3, robust community engagement and collaboration are needed. Information is highly technical and inaccessible, and CAISO should work directly with communities via listening sessions and other forms of accessible public workshops. And thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Tovar, and thanks for taking the time to meet with us today and make your comments. Did anyone have any questions or comments on this? All right, then, Silas, is there anyone else who would like to speak under general public comment?
There are no further hands up in the queue now.
Okay, good. Well, thank you all for participating. We appreciate it. And as Elliot said, we'll take those comments into consideration and look forward to working with you. With that, I think we are ready to move on to the minutes. So I'll turn it back over to Roger.
Thank you, Jan. Can I have a motion to approve the October 4th, 2024 general session minutes for the Board of Governors?
So moved.
Thank you, Mary and Severin. Chair Shori, your vote?
Yes.
Chair Borenstein, Vice Chair Borenstein, Governor Edo,
Yes.
Governor Galitova,
Yes.
and Governor Leslie.
Yes.
Thank you, governors. The motion passes. Back to you, Chair Shori.
Okay, great. And with that, I will turn it back over to our CEO, Elliot Mainzer, for his report.
Thank you, Chair Shori, Vice Chair Borenstein, and governors. It's good to be with all of you this afternoon and our stakeholders joining us. I did want to just highlight a few items from my CEO report dated October 31st. Of course, since the last time we met, we did have a very consequential ruling from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission back on September 30th, approving our package of Q reforms. Wanted to start out just by acknowledging the incredible amount of work and engagement by many of our partners and stakeholders throughout the region who participated in that working group. It's a complex set of issues, a lot of change, but I think there was a shared commitment amongst folks that it was time to really come up with a set of reforms that were really going to make a difference so that California continue to onboard the thousands of megawatts of additional resources that are needed here in the years ahead, while doing it in a way that was truly synchronized with power and transmission planning, interconnection queuing, and procurement. So we've moved out as of October 1st in implementing those reforms. Of course, we're still waiting the final ruling from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission on our associated package of 2023 improvements, but we are certainly committed to moving forward. And we will, of course, as stated before, be closely monitoring and evaluating how well these reforms work and adapting if necessary. Of course, even though the interconnection process reforms step 2 process is complete, there's no rest for the weary. We are, of course, now taking on the next phase to address some outstanding interconnection issues that were not part of the earlier reforms, including focus on deliverability allocations and some of the more acute challenges created by some of the recent superclusters where we've seen unprecedented numbers of interconnection requests. So thanks again to everybody that worked on that and getting us a good outcome to take some positive steps forward. Of course, we're all still coming off what I think was a very, very successful stakeholder symposium here at the end of the month. Thanks again to I think it was close to 1,500 people that participated in the stakeholder symposium, both in person and online. And thanks to our governors who were able to attend. Thank you so much for being there. In addition to having a chance to really review kind of the entire landscape around governance and markets and transmission and new technology, we were fortunate to just see directly just the very, very solid momentum that the Pathways Initiative has. Looking forward to the release of their final proposal here for step 2 at the end of this week. And of course, really appreciative of the announcement by the Western Area Power Administration Administrator Tracy LeBeau that WAPA's Sierra Nevada operations are moving towards joining the extended day-ahead market. Really, really appreciate that. These new partnerships are very important. Of course, then just yesterday, we were also pleased to hear from Public Service New Mexico of their decision to pursue the extended day-ahead market, which will be our first formal utility adopting EDAM in the desert Southwest. That, of course, is an area that is very important to us. Lots of important partnerships. We're also going to be looking forward to supporting Arizona G&T in their study of whether it makes sense for that customer group with WAPA to move from EIM into EDAM. And we'll also continue working on transmission developments and just enhancing liquidity for EDAM in that part of the world. I, of course, also wanted to mention at the Stakeholder Symposium, it was really nice to be able to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Western Energy Imbalance Market. Hard to believe, here we are 10 years later, 2014 through 2024, over $6.25 billion of customer savings. And I think as we've learned through direct experience these last few summers, that WEIM has really become an indispensable tool in helping to maintain system reliability, especially during some of the extreme events that we've seen both during summers and winters in recent years. And for anyone who would like to just, who hasn't had a chance to see it, we did produce a short video that's on our website, kind of celebrating the EIM's anniversary and hearing from a number of our key partners going all the way back to the origins of EIM and tracing both the evolution of the market and its governance in recent years. So thanks again to everybody who participated in that. It's really nice to be there. Just one other note, I did note on my CEO report that back on October 15th, we did file tariff modifications with FERC to extend and enable the Interscheduling Coordinator trades functionality to WEIM and EDAM once EDAM launches in 2026. That was an important piece of additional functionality. Glad to have that moving, hoping to hear from the Commission by the end of the year on that. And then, of course, as always, we remain very, very focused and on track for implementation and go live on EDAM for both PacifiCorp and Portland General in 2026. I would note that the PNM is targeting 2027 for their onboarding. So lots of focused work on implementation. Finally, and I wanted to thank Governor Edo for joining us. As you know, we have been repurposing a big segment of the first floor of our Folsom headquarters here this last couple of years to really enhance simulation and training capability for our control center, both for our own operators and to provide training capabilities for additional operators around the West, where we've opened up additional training rooms, a simulation room, a revised, refreshed emergency operations center, and a third control center, which provides us with additional backup capabilities in the event of contingencies. I think one of the most special elements was that we decided to dedicate the new training rooms to Dave Delpart, who many of you remember, long time, almost legendary control center operator at the CAISO, passed away unexpectedly about a year ago. And it was wonderful to be able to have his family there to celebrate the dedication ceremony. Again, Governor Edo, thank you for being there to represent the board during that event. So we are very excited to finish up the year of 2024 on a strong note. I think today's conversations around transmission demonstrate even greater momentum. Really appreciate all the work we're doing, and thanks to all of you for all your support. I'll turn it back to Chair Shorey. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Any questions for Elliot before we move on? Great. Thank you so much. Okay, with that, I think that it is time for the report from our Western Energy Markets Governing Body Board Chair, Rob Konzioka. Is Rob? I'm not seeing him on my screen, but I assume he's there. Silence, did you look and see? Are you there?
I'm doing a sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Thank you. Chair Shorey, Vice Chair Borenstein, Board of Governors, thank you for allowing me the time to provide a brief update on our activities and progress. I will start off saying that in light of our recent meetings and information sharing, I just have 3 short remarks to make for you. One is, I know that you've been briefed already on the topic from the Bosser, but I wanted to reinforce that previous chair of the Bosser, Haley Williamson, has completed her term. And we appreciated her efforts and work in leading the New Mexico Public Regulation Committee, and that is Gabriel Aguilera. And the new vice chair is John Hammond of the Idaho PUC. We think that they've done a great job in transitioning and moving things forward, and we look forward to continued very positive cooperation. The second item I'd like to touch on is the update we received from the Regional Issues Forum. As most of you are aware and have been engaged with some of the RIF activities, they have done really a terrific job in 2024. They plan on focusing the rest of the time this year in planning out the 20 focus areas. And then lastly, one thing that you were not able to see was we received a briefing from the market expert Susan Pope at our meeting on the storage bid cost recovery. If you recall, she had provided a generic briefing on why bid cost recoveries are used in markets. And then her briefing was specifically targeting the proposal that was in front of us that we ultimately voted on last week. That concludes my remarks, and I'm open for any questions.
Great. Thank you, Rob. Does anyone on the board have any questions for Rob? Good. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to participate today, Rob. We appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
With that, we will move on to agenda item number 5, which is our first action item. This is a proposed decision on a participating transmission owner application. The company is Citizens excuse me, I can't say it. Citizens Pacific, and I'll turn it back over to Roger because I think we've received some correspondence on this.
Yes, actually, we have not for this one. We have some
Oh, sorry.
public comment, but we do have a placeholder there, so it was a fair question.
Okay.
And but we do have some on the next item, but this one, we do not have any public comment letters.
Okay, with that, it goes then to Neil Miller, I think, to introduce the topic.
Thank you very much. And first, I'll just check that the microphones are live here.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you and good afternoon. Today, I will be asking Riddy Ray, our lead contracts negotiator, to present the request for approval of the Citizens Pacific Participating Transmission Owner application. Riddy has appeared before you in the past, but infrequently, so I wanted to take the opportunity to thank and commend Riddy for his exceptional work for us in managing a number of very demanding contract negotiations. But before I turn the microphone over to Riddy, I do want to provide some additional context for today's decision. The financial arrangements underpinning the application is not unique to the ISO. Citizens has partnered with a number of transmission owners in the past to provide financing and contributing earnings back to the local community. Today's application, however, is a bit unique as the arrangement applies to a portfolio of transmission projects rather than to an individual and often one-of-a-kind development. We understand PG&E is taking this step, partnering with Citizens to ensure the necessary funding is in place for transmission development, and we applaud all efforts taken to ensure the transmission we need is built and built on a timely basis. So with that, I will turn it to Riddy to walk through the decision item.
Thank you, Neil. Just doing a quick sound check. Can people hear me okay?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to present a recommendation for a decision on the participating transmission owner application submitted by Citizens Pacific Transmission LLC. Next slide, please. Citizens Pacific Transmission LLC, referred to as Citizens Pacific, submitted their transmission owner application to the ISO on July 15, 2024 to join the ISO as a participating transmission owner. Citizens Pacific and Pacific Gas and Electric Company, referred to as PG&E, have signed a development coordination and options agreement, which will allow Citizens Pacific to invest up to $1 billion in a portfolio of transmission projects that is being developed and constructed by PG&E. Citizens Pacific will be executing a total of 5 entitlement leases, all of which will be turned over to ISO operational control. The first entitlement lease will be executed in 2025 and turned over to ISO operational control. Any future entitlements, as they are executed and the projects come into service, will also be turned over to ISO operational control. Next slide, please.
Riddy, your audio is not great. Maybe get a little closer to the microphone. It's kind of going up and down. Thank you.
Is that a little better?
For now, you're gonna have to say a few more words and we'll find out. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and discuss the slide with the full set of entitlements. So as part of the first tranche of investment, Citizens will receive entitlements in a total of 9 projects. There will be 2 projects at the Leo Hoso substation, 2 projects at Gates, 1 at Monte Vista, 1 project at Table Mountain, 1 project at Argo, and then 2 projects at Tesla substation. Next slide, please. Citizens Pacific, just like every other applicant participating transmission owner, has to go through our tariff and transmission control agreement mandated process to join the ISO. This is a very specific process with several steps, which have been listed out here. Citizens Pacific has completed the first step, that is submitting an application to the ISO. This application has been posted on the ISO website for public comment. And today we are here for the third step, which is seeking authorization from the Board of Governors to accept the application submitted by Citizens Pacific. Following the authorization, Citizens Pacific will move forward and execute the transmission control agreement with the ISO and the other PTOs. This agreement will be filed at FERC, and upon FERC approval and completion of the transmission assets, those entitlements of Citizen Pacific, Citizen Pacific will be turned over to ISO operational control, and Citizen Pacific then will become a participating transmission owner. Next slide, please. We'll discuss a little more about this application. PG&E, which is a party to this development, construction, and options agreement, will develop, design, permit, engineer, procure, and construct each of these projects, and will bear all the costs for development and construction. PG&E will retain full ownership as well as operations and maintenance obligations on these transmission projects, while Citizen Pacific's interest will be limited solely to entitlements. Citizen Pacific, as part of its application, has provided the list of projects that will be included in this first entitlements list. And once they're ready to be turned over to ISO operational control, that list will be finalized. Next slide, please. I'll present management's recommendation to the board, which is to approve the ISO's acceptance of Citizen Pacific's application. The funding that will be provided by Citizen Pacific will support development of many of PG&E's transmission projects, which support California's energy policy goals. Citizen Pacific also meets all the criteria for becoming a participating transmission owner with the ISO, the criteria which is identified in the transmission control agreement. As part of our application review process, this application was posted publicly on the ISO website for 60 days for public comments, and no comments were received. We're open for questions and comments.
Great, thank you very much, Riddhi. Let me just ask a couple of quick clarification ones. The thing that makes this proposal a little bit unique is that it's actually for 5 projects under one. Is this the first time we've done that? Under one agreement, PTO agreement?
That is correct. Citizens Energy, which is the parent company, has invested in ISO transmission projects in the past, but they have been singular ISO transmission projects. This is the first time they're investing in a portfolio of projects. So that is correct. Sure.
So we do have a track record with Citizens Energy on earlier projects, and that's gone successfully to date?
That is correct. We do have a long track record, and all those entitlements have been successfully turned over to ISO operational control.
So in other ways, this is basically a standard proposal or a standard agreement under this PTO tariff for us?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, the same terms and conditions that we applied before will apply to this application.
Okay. So all I was trying to get to is the only unique thing is that we're actually kind of creating a portfolio of projects for them to invest in rather than doing them one at a time.
That is correct.
So this seems like a more efficient approach. Joe, you've got your hand up.
I wanted to connect some of the public comment to this particular issue. Could you speak a little more? You said that, or Neil, I think, said that Citizens returns some of the earnings they make to the communities in which projects are being built. And are any of these energy justice communities, or will these help back out gas plants?
Well, it's Neil here. I'll take the first shot just to clarify. The bulk of the projects here in this first portfolio are reliability-driven projects. So those are meeting both existing and emerging load growth primarily, as well as bringing in renewable energy from other parts of the state. So, but they are primarily reliability projects. Citizens do use a portion, I believe it's 20% of their earnings are returned back to community benefit programs within the local communities. And that's consistent with their investment in other projects as well, the other 3 projects they have with us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? Okay, Silas, can you help me out? We'll open it up to the public and see if anyone else would like to make a comment.
If you would like to make a public comment, please press the raise hand icon on Zoom or #2 on your phone. And we do have one hand up in our queue. Peter Smith, you've been sent a prompt to unmute yourself. You can go ahead.
Thanks very much, and thank you, Jan Shorey. Peter Smith, I'm the CEO of Citizens Energy, the parent company to Citizens Pacific for this transmission proposal. And I just wanted to clarify that the percentage of the profits that we dedicate to community benefit programs in the areas where the projects are built is 50% on our previous 3 projects, Citizen Sunrise, Sycamore Penasquitos, and the S-Line upgrade just recently completed in this past July, all part of the Cal ISO system. On this particular project, our percentage of profits starts at 50% on the first $200 million tranche and goes up to 90% of our profits on the 5th and final $200 million tranche. So significantly more profits put back into community benefit programs in the areas where the projects are located. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that information. You're to be commended. That is terrific.
Thank you, Chair Shorey.
So can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Peter, so what kinds of community impact projects do you fund?
That's an excellent question. We haven't determined exactly what the community benefit projects would be for these particular projects. That's we're in discussions with PG&E and the California PUC on that. But what we've done historically on the 3 projects that are part of the Cal ISO right now, on Citizen Sunrise, we initially installed solar roof panels on low-income households, and then we switched that in the Imperial Valley and switched that program to a 39 megawatt low-income community solar project that provides significant energy savings to low-income electric customers in the Imperial Valley. In San Diego County, with the Sycamore Penasquitos project, we provide electric vehicles and charging infrastructure for nonprofit social service organizations like Meals on Wheels, Indian Health Center, Outdoor Outreach, and the like. And on S-Line upgrade, while that project just became operational in this past July, we're working with the local utility, Imperial Irrigation District, to fund a number of ratepayer assistance programs for their low-income ratepayers. And it takes about a year for us to actually generate the profits that we can then use to create programs. But we try to focus on affordability and low-income ratepayer benefits.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, this sure seems like a win-win. Maybe a win-win-win. 3.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, Silas, do we have anybody else that has signed up to speak?
We don't have any further comments in the queue at this time.
Okay, great. Well, with that, then I think it's time to turn it over to Roger.
Thank you, Chair Shorey. We can go ahead with our motion and move that the ISO Board of Governors approve the ISO's acceptance of the application of Citizens Pacific Transmission, LLC, for participating transmission owner status, conditioned on 1, Citizens Pacific Transmission, LLC executing the transmission control agreement, and 2, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's acceptance of a transmission owner tariff as set forth in the memorandum dated November 5, 2024. And can I have a motion, please?
So
I think Severin won on that.
I didn't say a word.
That was me.
Yeah, Juliana and I.
I think I win that one.
In my defense, the combination of Joe and everyone else's voice must have sounded like you, Severin. Okay, so, and a second, please.
I'll second.
Great. Vice Chair Bornstein, your vote.
Sounding like a crowd. Aye.
Governor Edo.
Aye.
Governor Galitova.
Aye.
Governor Leslie.
Aye.
And Chair Shorey.
Aye.
Thank you, governors. The motion passes, and that was not my intent to say that, Severin. Back to you, Chair Shorey.
Thank you. And I would be very interested, probably the rest of the board as well, as this project moves along the road in getting an understanding as to what the community benefits distributions from citizens would be. It's helpful for the board to understand those kinds of values, which, to be frank, are not normally something you hear come up in a transmission project approval like this. So that was very encouraging to hear. Okay, with that, we're on to our next and final action item of the day, agenda item number 6. And this is some proposed modifications to the 2021-22 transmission plan. And on this one, Roger, I think we do have some public comment letters.
Yes, we do. And let me read those for the record. These public comment letters have come in and have been provided to the board. And the public letters that have come in is a letter from the Center for Energy Efficiency and Renewable Technologies, CEERT, Silicon Valley Power, City of San Jose, and LS Power Grid California, LLC. And again, each of those letters have been provided to the board.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And at this point, then, I think it gets turned back over to Neil Miller in transmission. Thanks.
Thank you. And now I will be asking Vinay Shrestha, our Manager of Regional Transmission North, to present the modification to the 21-22 transmission plan for your approval. As I believe this is Vinay's first presentation to the Board of Governors, I want to take the opportunity to welcome him and also thank him for his own exceptional efforts in leading the ISO's transmission planning and resource interconnection studies in Northern California. But before I turn the microphone over to Vinay, I did also want to touch on the letters received by the Board of Governors regarding this decision item. To provide some clarification, significant modifications to previously approved projects and to those awarded through our competitive solicitation processes is a very rare event. In the past, there have been reasons to cancel previously approved projects due to rapidly changing circumstances. As Vinay will discuss, the circumstances driving this particular change are unprecedented in the ISO footprint, but I note that these are occurring in other parts of the United States as well, largely associated with the growth in data center loads in some areas. As we have received a number of comments, as Mr. Collington has noted, I will note that these comments are generally either supportive of the changes to move forward expeditiously, or also raise some questions regarding how management will affect the changes to the projects, subject to your approval of those modifications being presented here today. After Vinay has presented the decision item to you, explaining the requested modifications, I will provide additional comments regarding the concerns and the questions expressed in the letters that you've received, if you'll tolerate me to do so. So with that, I will turn the microphone over to Vinay to present the decision item itself. Vinay?
Thanks, Neil. Just a quick sound check. Is my sound coming okay?
Yes, we want you to be close to the microphone though, because they're, at least on my computer, I'm getting a teeny bit of an echo.
All right. Hope that's a little bit better. I'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for this opportunity to present this. This is an item in front of the board today. Like Neil mentioned, this is an item on this one is on the modification to the previously approved San Jose area high voltage direct current projects, which includes two projects, one of which is a DC link between PG&E's Newark substation and Silicon Valley Power's, thank you, Northern Receiving Station, and the other project is a DC link between PG&E's Metcalf 500 kV substation and PG&E's San Jose B 115 kV substation. So management is seeking approval for modification of these projects, which were previously approved by board. The need for these modifications are driven by the rapidly increasing load forecast in the area. Like I just mentioned, these two projects were previously approved and were competitively awarded and are currently under development. There is a timeline pressure to support growing load in the area. So management is seeking approval of these modifications now instead of taking it through the 2024-25 TPP cycle, so as to as quick as possible to approve these modification and transition to the new scope. There are other enforcement that will be needed to support growing load in the area, and that will progress through the established 24-25 TPP cycle. Next slide, please. So on this slide, I'll be talking about the current approved scope for these projects. So like I mentioned, these projects were approved in 21-22 transmission planning process cycle. The diagram here shows the scope of the currently approved project. Basically, in the green highlight showing two DC link between Newark and NRS substation on the north, and then Metcalf and San Jose B substation in the south. At the time when we approved this project in 21-22 cycle, the long-term, which is the 10-year load forecast at that time for this study area was about 2,100 megawatt. The scope included, like I said, there's a DC link between the Newark and NRS and the Metcalf and San Jose B substations. At the time when we approved this project, there was also ultimate plan, which was not part of the approval, but as part of the next step, the plan was to connect these two DC link so as to create a multi-terminal DC configuration in the area, which is not shown in the diagram because it was, like I said, it was not part of the approved scope at that time. Next slide, please. So moving on to this cycle, 24-25, just a quick comparison in the load forecast. The same 10-year horizon load forecast in the current cycle for the same study area is now forecasted to around 3,400 megawatt. So comparing with the same baseline 10-year forecast in 21-22 cycle, this is more than 60% increase in the load forecast from 21-22 to current cycle. In this cycle, we also created a sensitivity scenario which includes even more load in the study area. The baseline includes most of the increase is from the EV charging stations and large load data center loads in the area. The baseline includes that were all committed interconnection requests. The sensitivity scenario included even more data center loads, but those were not committed and were not included in the CHA forecast. So that sensitivity scenario had about 4,200 megawatt load modeled in this study area. So using this year's scenario, we performed assessment in this area, and we identified issues even in the normal system conditions and under multiple contingency conditions. There are reliability criteria violations not meeting the performance requirements. The 10-year and overall long-term transmission plan for the area was evaluated in light of this significant load growth. And also in addition, we also received from LS Power the indication that there is increased cost estimate for the SVDC components. Next slide, please. So as part of this year's assessment, we looked at various alternatives. The one that we're recommending, and I'll talk about in more detail in next slide, but the alternative that we're recommending is a hybrid solution that includes SVDC and high capacity 230 kV alternate current AC lines. Some other alternative that we considered is multi-terminal DC line. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the ultimate plan at the time when we approved this project was to connect the two DC link and create a multi-terminal DC connection from Newark to Metcalf station. So we studied that as one of the alternative. The other alternative that we looked at is converting both link to high capacity AC lines. And we also looked at creating a bipole multi-terminal SVDC. Next slide, please. So in this slide, I will talk about the recommended alternative in a little more detail. I'll start with the diagram. On the diagram, the scope that are modification to the existing approved project are shown as modification. So I'll start with the northern part where we are modifying the Newark NRS 500 megawatt DC link to 100 megawatt AC connection between Newark and NRS. On the southern project, we are staying with the SVDC system connecting Metcalf and San Jose B, but changing the minimum capacity from 500 megawatt to 1,000 megawatt. There is also a change in the scope at the San Jose location for the SVDC interconnection. Previous configuration was connecting SVDC to San Jose B 115 kV system, but this modification includes creating a 230 kV switchyard at San Jose B and connecting the SVDC to the new 230 kV switchyard rather than the existing 115 kV connection at San Jose B. There is also a connection zone between Northern Receiving Station NRS and San Jose B, the new 230 kV line. That is planned for this cycle, but not the decision for today. And that will be presented to the board as part of the 24-25 TPP cycle through that process. Next slide, please. So just to recap for today's decision, management recommends modifying the scope for the Newark NRS SVDC project and the Metcalf San Jose B SVDC projects that were approved as part of the 21-22 transmission plan as follows. The Newark NRS 230 kV project, the scope of the project will be 1,000 MVA 230 kV AC circuit from PG&E Newark substation to Silicon Valley Power's Northern Receiving Station substation. For the Metcalf San Jose B SVDC project, the scope of the project will be a 1,000 megawatt SVDC link between PG&E's Metcalf 500 kV and San Jose B substation and a 230 and 115 kV transformer to connect to PG&E's San Jose B 115 kV existing substation. And like I said, for future decision, the new 230 kV AC line between NRS and San Jose B 230 kV switchyard will be brought forward for recommendation for approval to the Board of Governors as part of the 24-25 transmission planning process. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'll hand it back to Neil for some additional comment on this decision item.
Thank you, Vinay. Before we did turn to questions, as I mentioned, I would like to provide a response to some of the written comments, as I mentioned earlier. As I noted, where there were questions raised in the letters that you received, they related primarily to how management would affect the changes subject to your approval of the modifications themselves. And for that reason, it's important to provide some clarity. For clarity, management's view is that the modification to the HVDC facility proposals themselves, both at the Newark NRS project and the Metcalf San Jose B facilities, are changes that management can negotiate with LS Power, to whom both projects were awarded through our competitive solicitation process. The one exception is the additional 230 kV switchyard facilities needed at San Jose B as a new intermediate facility between the AC side of the LS Power converter station at that site and the existing 115 kV San Jose B substation. Management's view is that the 230 kV switchyard is appropriately classified as an upgrade to the existing substation, and as such, PG&E is entitled to have the switchyard directly assigned to PG&E under our tariff. Concerns have also been expressed that the 2024-2025 transmission plan will call for the new 230 kV transmission line that Benet mentioned between the NRS substation and the new 230 kV switchyard, and that this project would also be assigned directly to PG&E as the incumbent utility. That assumption is actually incorrect. Management does expect this new transmission line to be recommended for approval in the future transmission plan, and that the line clearly meets the criteria for eligibility for competitive procurement as an entirely new high voltage transmission line and not direct assignment to the incumbent utility. But that being said, neither of these issues are part of the decision item being presented to the Board of Governors today. Lastly, some stakeholders suggested that there is a lack of clarity in the ISO's tariff and business practices to address how changes like the modifications we're bringing to you today are managed, and when those modifications are to competitively awarded projects. We do agree that proactively providing additional clarity can be beneficial, and we do intend to consult with stakeholders in 2025 regarding augmenting our tariff or business practice manuals to provide that clarity. This does not mean delaying implementing the modifications we are seeking approval of today. We do believe we have the appropriate authority to effect these modifications under the provisions of the approved project sponsor agreements that are currently in effect. So with that, Benet and I would be pleased to help with any questions either now or after public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Benet. An excellent first presentation. So you're out and fully experienced now at presenting to the board. Thank you very much for doing that. Angelina, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
I did have my hand up. Thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation. Yes, it's always good to know that we've got the stakeholder process. I was just wondering, my first question is, the 230 kV project, which is the new line that will be competitively bid, is that going to be on existing right-of-ways, or are we using new ones? And that ties into, the comments that we had before the meeting started in terms of informing communities, educating communities, and making sure that they know that we are serving additional load with transmission upgrades, which is beneficial in terms of not having an adverse impact on air quality and providing the benefits in an optimized fashion. I just want to make sure that I know, one, what the impact is, two, who's educating the communities. Would that lie then with the utilities or with LS Power, or would it be something that the ISO would be doing? I know we traditionally don't engage, but I was just wondering if there was a process where that is handled that we can point people to.
It's Neil here. I'll start with this. Normally when we put a project out for competitive solicitation, if someone bidding on that project has an existing right-of-way, that's a competitive advantage in winning the award. But we would not be specifying in advance that it has to go on an existing right-of-way. So that's where there's a bit of a delicate dance when it's a competitively awarded project. But like I said, if there is an existing right-of-way that can be repurposed, that's an advantage. But we wouldn't be specifying that. About the relationship with the community, we have had a number of meetings already with the city of San Jose, and they've been very supportive of the development. They're very concerned about their ability to serve the load that they want to see moving into that area. So they're very supportive of that effort. When it comes to direct community engagement, normally that gets once we have secured who the transmission owner would be that would be actually developing the project, we would support their efforts, but we would not be stepping out in front. We would be working either through the city or supporting the efforts of the participating transmission owner that's developing the project.
Good. Thank you, Neil. That was very helpful. I just wanted to make sure that we're not missing a step and that the potential bidders are the ones that undertake those activities and that they are robust and engaged, just like our stakeholder process are. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Severin.
Yeah, I just wanted to, first of all, compliment Neil and Benet on the work on this. I think we're going to face more of these cases. Load growth is going to become much more unpredictable, and it's going to be important to have some protocol in place to we've dealt with cancellations, but also expansions and changes and so forth, that is as transparent as possible. And although I have been critical of the CEC on many occasions, I actually want to defend them. I think that forecasting load growth right now is just a Herculean effort. There's just so much uncertainty and perverse incentives for many of the market participants to claim load growth that may or may not appear, that I think we need to be understanding that these are going to be very imperfect forecasts, and we're going to have to adapt as more information comes in. That's just a comment.
Thanks, Severin. Mary.
Yeah, I just wanted to also say, Neil, that I thought you did a good job on this, and that apparently we might be looking at the tip of the iceberg. So we need to probably spend a little bit more time on the planning of this. And even though it is not our primary responsibility to do forecasting, it's going to be incumbent upon us to be ready. And I see several of the stakeholder letters suggest that we talk to our colleagues over at the CPUC and the CEC and potentially have more of a stakeholder process that incorporates scenarios regarding low growth into reliability portion of the transmission planning process. I think is a direct quote of what John White wrote here at CERT, who I know represents many of the large transmission owners and is very knowledgeable about these issues. So I think that's a good idea.
Yes, and the Energy Commission, it's Neil here, just to add to that, we do appreciate that concern. We are in a lot of direct conversation, both with the Energy Commission as well as the utilities, about these new challenges. And the Energy Commission is definitely putting a great deal of additional effort into this particular issue around data center and related loads. So we do expect to see some shift in their practices as well as the additional dialogue between the bottom-up forecasts used for distribution planning by the utilities and how those mesh with the top-down, more holistic forecasting conducted and led by the Energy Commission. So this is definitely a challenge. The other thing I should just mention about that is, as the revised plan here demonstrates, a key aspect of ours is to generally ensure that plans are prudent at the time, but also scalable for future growth. This is one time where the circumstances around the original transmission design led to a project that really wasn't as scalable to this level of unprecedented growth in the area. The benefit of the 230 kV network we're now proposing in the area is that it does provide that scalability to add as opposing to having to modify previously approved plans. That's something we take very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Are there any further questions from the board? Okay, Silas, if we can see if there's anybody out in the audience that might like to make a comment.
If you would like to make a comment, please press the raise hand icon on Zoom, or on the phone line, you can press #2 on your telephone keypad. So far, we've got 2 hands up in the queue. Erica Garafo, you have been sent to unmute yourself. You can please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Sori and the CAISO Board of Governors. My name is Erica Garafo, Lead Resilience Strategist for the City of San Jose. I'm here today on behalf of the city to express our strong support for the recommendation to adjust the project scope for LS Power's work in the San Jose area. This adjustment is essential for meeting the rising electricity demands of our region and for ensuring a reliable power supply for our community. I'd like to begin by commending CAISO staff for their availability and their responsiveness in meeting with the city over the past year. This collaboration has been invaluable as we work toward shared goals for reliable and resilient energy infrastructure. Recently, as you just heard, CAISO shared critical updates on energy needs in the Bay Area, highlighting the high load scenarios in San Jose, which could lead to energy shortfalls without further investment. This revised scope aims to double the planned transmission capacity by 2028, which will be a huge step forward toward keeping up with our city's energy needs. San Jose is seeing a dramatic increase in interest from data centers and other high-demand industries. As our collective appetite for data, gaming, crypto, and AI grows, so does the need for the infrastructure to power it all. These industries, which rely on robust, resilient power, are key to both local growth and the broader tech economy, further emphasizing the importance of these transmission upgrades. Additionally, our city has set ambitious electrification goals to reduce reliance on natural gas and shift to cleaner energy sources. The City of San Jose is committed to working closely with CAISO, LS Power, and other stakeholders to ensure this project moves forward efficiently. We believe these actions will support a climate-resilient, electrified future for San Jose and Silicon Valley, enhancing reliability for our community and making meaningful progress toward California's clean energy goals. Thank you for considering this critical update to support the future of energy in San Jose.
Thank you very much, Ms. Garofalo, for those comments. We appreciate it. You're taking the time to come be with us today. With that, Silas, you mentioned there are others.
We have two more in the queue. Mike Florio, you have been sent a prompt to unmute yourself. You can go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Mike Florio. I'm consulting on this project for the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority, which is a statutorily created entity protecting open space and wildlife corridors in the Coyote Valley, which is at the southern end surrounding the Metcalf substation. We're parties to the CPCN for the Metcalf to San Jose B project. I just have a question whether increasing the capacity of that southern link from 500 to 1,000 megawatts will require physical changes to the current plan in the Metcalf area. I know there are changes up at San Jose B, but will the footprint and the equipment at Metcalf stay essentially the same, or will that have to be larger or different than what it was originally planned?
Neil or Benet, can you respond to that, or should we take that under advisement and go find out?
It's still, my understanding was that LS Power was originally speccing the design to accommodate the higher capacity in any event. So there shouldn't, I was not aware of any increase in footprint requirement as a result of this change at the substation, because they were already doing their speccing around a potential higher capacity. Benet, I don't know if you have any different information.
Yeah, no, that's true. Just the one thing to add there is the short AC link from the Metcalf 500 kV to the Metcalf converter station was always designed for 1,000 megawatt capacity. From the converter, the DC part was the minimum requirement was 500 megawatt in the previous, but like Neil said, the LS Power already spec that to that part to also be 1,000 megawatt the converter station. So with that information, like Neil said, we don't expect any change to the footprint at around Metcalf interconnection.
But to be complete, we will confirm and verify that for Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Next, Silas.
Chris Carwick, you have been sent a prompt to unmute yourself. You should be able to go ahead.
Very good. Good afternoon, Board of Governors. My name is Chris Carwick. I am the Assistant Director of Silicon Valley Power, focused on customer development and project management. Thank you for the opportunity to provide verbal comments in addition to our submittal of written comments discussing the reliability assessment and study updates in the 2024-2025 transmission planning process. SVP supports the approval of the CAISO proposed hybrid transmission project for the San Jose area. SVP's independent assessment indicates that adding the proposed high-capacity 230 kVAC circuit between San Jose B and NRS would increase SVP's import capability and improve the San Jose area's overall reliability. Given SVP's projected load growth, SVP also agrees with the CAISO that other local 230 and 115 kV upgrades to existing facilities must be included in the 2024-2025 TPP to further increase SVP's load serving ability. SVP requests that the CAISO management recommendation of the hybrid project be approved, including acknowledgement of mitigation measures needed to address challenges on the 230 and 115 kV circuits that impact SVP. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Carwick. Any questions for Santa Clara? No? Okay, good. Silas, are there any other speakers?
There are no other hands up in the queue.
Great. Thank you very much for your help. And with that, I think unless there are any further board comments, I don't see any hands up. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to Roger for the motion.
Thank you, Chair Shorey. Move that the ISO Board of Governors approves the modified scope for the Newark NRS HVDC project and the Metcalf San Jose B HVDC project as described in the memorandum dated November 5th, 2024. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Everyone was afraid to speak up that time, so they didn't run each other over.
I think I'm the only one with my mic on, so that's
Yeah.
probably part of it.
I have my mic on.
Let me take your vote. Vice Chair Bornstein,
Aye.
Governor Edo,
Aye.
Governor Glitua,
Aye.
Governor Leslie,
Aye.
Chair Shorey.
Aye.
Thank you, governors. The motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And excellent work. Thank you, Neil. And I really appreciate the fact that Benet is going to go out of here with a big win. So,
Thank you, everyone.
so it's a good start.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in the home stretch here. We've made it up to agenda item number 7, which are our regular informational reports. Do any board members have any questions or comments on any of the informational reports that were included in the board agenda package? All right, I don't see any hands. In that case, are there any other comments, questions, concerns, thoughts for the future? All right, we're in excellent shape. We're finishing early today, so that's always a good sign. Thank you for all your hard work. Thanks to all of the participants in today's meeting. We appreciate your attendance. And with that, I will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Chair Shorey.
you.
Thank you, Jan.